Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Coach's Corner with Heck and King. It's Monday, April 7th. It is National Championship night. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw on Saturday and what we can look forward to tonight a little bit. Our answers and our predictions are always guaranteed 100% right all the time. So please listen to us. We are your oracles for all things basketball. Before we get to that, I don't really have anything else. It's going to be a good night. Unfortunately, the college basketball season ends tonight, but that's part of it. We will get to all of it and much more here on Coach's Corner right after this.
Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Just remember what Ron Hecklinski said today. And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good.
Coach's Corner with Heck and King is proudly presented to you by Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance, On Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, Frick's Driving School of Mishawaka, and the Harbor Group Planned Wealth down in Anderson. Before we get started, make sure and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment in the chat. Now, here's Heck and King.
Yes.
We don't have a soundboard, so I'm the applause line.
We are at different sites tonight because the infamous Pat King is in Mexico. And what I say to Pat is, you know what? You can't hide money, man. I mean, you got money. You can fly to Mexico. I'm in the bend. I got no jack. I got no cabbage.
Yeah, you've got some family stuff going on. Stop it.
I'm in the bend and kind of cool today. Sunshiny, but kind of cool. Probably 36, 37. Was going to go out and get some yard work done, but kind of cool. But we, although we're not at the linebacker, we are still being brought to you tonight through our great sponsors and our great producer, Scott King, on a beautiful Zoom. At about 6:45, we're going to have the great Johnny B. Good on, right, Pat?
Yep, he's going to be here. And you mentioned weather. I mean, I'm down here in Puerto Vallarta on the West Coast, Pacific Ocean side. And today was the coolest day it's supposed to be this week, supposedly. It was 83. It's all blue sky. So we're in good shape, enjoying ourselves, just the wife and I, and taking it easy here for a couple of days.
So let me ask you, did you drink any water in Mexico?
You know, that's an old story. The water's just fine down there.
Don't drink the water.
Although I have been drinking more bottled water and carbonated than I have just regular tap water.
You drinking LaCroix?
What? Yeah. Well, what is this stuff? It's here. I'll do a commercial for whatever that company is. E Pura.
What does it say? Ama tu cuerpo. Love your body.
Well, here's the deal, man.
Okay.
Here's the deal. If you're drinking water on vacation with your beautiful wife in Mexico, you're absolutely crazy. You ought to be into the there we go.
I've been having trouble telling the difference. Luckily, this has a yellow label.
There we go.
The yellow label.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about.
This is what cures your sore throat and
it's everything.
Yeah.
So are you drinking two fingers? Are you drinking one finger on your shots? Or are you going with three fingers?
They just give you this. You just drink it out of the bottle.
Wow.
You just drink it out of the bottle.
All right. Well, listen.
And then hang on.
No. I mean, and you keep having a great time, man. You have a great time because once you get home, I got a great liver doctor you can go see, and he'll just tell you, hey Pat, don't drink for about a month, man. You'll be cool.
He'll take care of you.
So anyway, while you're in Mexico and I'm in Indiana and Scotty's in Texas, obviously the sports world is abuzz because we're coming off of just two great games. On Saturday in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament. And obviously that Auburn, Florida game to start it off. I thought was just a great game. I thought Bruce Pearl's coaching his brains out. Todd Golden, the head coach at Florida, is coaching his brains out. I think, and this is my own personal opinion. I think about the only people that didn't do a great job at that game were the officials. And I don't even know if you watched it. I mean, did you watch it, Pat?
Well, as much as I could. The problem I have down here is the TV. Everything's in Spanish, so I had to watch it on. Actually, ESPN3 was the hookup, but they had Spanish announcers, so I turned the sound down and got Sirius Radio and listened to Robbie Hummel on the radio do their play-by-play on the college network. But it was about an 8-second delay. So by the time, I watch it, and then Robbie would tell me what happened, when the ball was down at the other end of the floor. So
we got to pause it and try to sync it up.
It didn't happen on it. Not enough on the remote control. So
yeah, I thought the officials in that game.
Do you think they made a difference? You think they made a difference?
Oh, I think they made a big difference. I think the physicality in that game was off the charts.
Yeah,
and I thought guys were getting hit on the perimeter. Guys were driving and getting bumped and knocked off spots. And it seemed to me, now I could be wrong, but it seemed to me that the officiating really favored Auburn in a lot of different cases. Scott, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, it's Courtney Green. Courtney Green famously, because I always have to make everything about Purdue. Purdue's maybe like 1-25 against the spread when Courtney Green referees the games.
Oh boy.
So I always think Courtney Green is point shaving. I hadn't seen a lot of him in the Big Ten. I was kind of surprised he got a Final Four assignment. I don't know who the other two guys on that ref crew were, but as soon as I saw Courtney Green, I'm like, "Ooh, this is gonna be ugly."
So what you're saying is, the physicality, don't you think, favored Auburn?
I think the whistle favored Auburn, and then I think the physicality favored them too. But at the end of the day, Walter Clayton Jr. is just too good of a player for anybody to guard.
Well, he made shots.
He's just a great straight line driver, and he can get to the rack. They can reverse the ball 2 or 3 times, and he can get to the rack anytime, almost that he wants to. And a transition, when he's pushing the ball transition, it becomes so hard because, as you know, and as I know, transition defense is tough to play anyway. You're getting back, you're trying to get back and protect the paint, put your wall up on defense. But now when Walter Clayton Jr. is getting downhill, he's just a load, and he was really, really, really good for Florida.
And he can shoot. He made one shot in the corner that he pump faked, and he was way off balance, and he chucked it up, and I thought it was going to hit the side of the backboard, and then all of a sudden it goes through. It didn't even touch the rim. I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those.
I'm not sure America really knew. And the SEC obviously knew how good Walter Clayton Jr. was or is. I'm not sure America really knew how good Walter Clayton Jr. is. I'm sure the NBA, I'm sure his stock has gone through the charts when it comes to the NBA draft. Matter of fact, I really, really like his game.
Well, and you and I both know transition defense is getting nearly impossible to play now because of the way the officials are calling the game. You've got to get back you've got to be there and be set. You can't be chasing people. You can't be running next to them. You've got to be down there and set. And that's why you see a lot of teams are only sending one person to the boards anymore, and everybody else they're sending 4 back on defense. And that's, offensive rebounds like next to nothing anymore, it seems, because teams are getting back on defense to try to protect the rim. And then these guys just go flying in there, jumping into people. And a lot of them are, in my opinion, are bailout calls. I mean, you jump into a guy's chest in the air, his hands obviously have to come forward just out of the reflex, and the referees call a foul on the defense. I just think it's so much in favor of the offense in today's game.
Well, and I think the fandom and people want to see great offense, and I think that trickles down now to the high school level, and that's why the shot clock, I believe, and obviously not next year, because they would have to make that announcement like tomorrow if it was going to be next year because of all the setting of the clocks and all that logistical kind of stuff. But I think you'll see the shot clock in Indiana high school basketball in 2 years, and I think it's a good move. But anybody that coaches transition defense knows that to be able to crash the glass with 4 people is ludicrous. And my transition defense was always taken from Rick Majerus, and his transition defense said that you always had somebody going back. Now, most of the time it was your 2, your shooting guard. But if your 2 happened to be 6'5" and a great offensive rebounder, it could have been your 3 who maybe wasn't a great offensive rebounder. But as the shot was taken, and less for the sake of explaining this, let's just say it is the 2. When the shot's taken, the 2 makes no effort to go to the glass. He just turns and sprints and gets his head underneath the rim. The one or your best on-ball defender sprints back to half court and then turns around and tries as hard as he can to stop the ball push in transition. And then the 3 and the 4 and the 5 have to sprint back to the paint, and they have 3 seconds to do that. And I think it's a very good way to coach a transition defense. But now it's different. It's different because now maybe the 3, 4, and the 5, they're not going to run back to the paint. They're going to run back to a spot up shooter and make sure that spot up J doesn't get taken in transition. But I mean, with the way and the length and the way people can push the ball, the transition offense is unbelievable, and you have to be able to match that. Now, and Pat, you can speak to this too. We always coached the defense, shell drill. We always coached it from a half court setting. All right, guys, let's go offense. Do this. Blah 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 blah. Half court. Well, now I think I don't think coaches should really ever coach defense from the half court anymore. I think defense should always be coached out of a transition setting because transition defense is so important that you might, if you're working on a certain defensive fundamental, you may have your offense run a set and score, and now you got to get back and play against that certain defensive fundamental out of a transition break.
Yeah, I know one of the drills I always ran, originally I would run it with 3 people back and put two at the half court line, 1 on each side of the sideline, let the 5 people take the ball off the board, go run to the other end. When all 5 of them passed half court, the 2 guys would run to the middle, touch, and then they would chase. So you had 3 people stopping the ball and 2 people trailing, communicating, talking about who needs to be where and all this stuff. But you had 3 people stopping the ball. And then every once in a while I'd put 2 back there. And I put like the 5-man at the far foul line, and then he would have to chase and trail like he was in there rebounding, and he'd be the 5th man down the floor on defense. Just trying to simulate game situations best you could, and it forces the kids to communicate and talk the defense. Because
you remember too, we used to do a 3-man weave, and then the shooter on the 3-man weave had to run back and play 2-on-1.
Yeah, that is a similar situation to that. You're exactly right. So, but in the end, heck, that game, Florida made some shots and Auburn didn't make shots, and that's how it ended up being a 6-point ball game.
Well, because didn't Janai Broom have like 12 points at the half, and then it finished with like 14?
Yeah, and Florida made a coaching decision that at times I kind of wondered about, but then as the game went on, I thought it was a great coaching decision to not help and not give a Broom's defender any help, which would then allow Broom to kick it out for wide open threes, because as we know, Auburn's a great three-point shooting team.
and he's a good passer, from the post. That was one of the things, he was one of the leaders on the team in assists. So
well, it's like what UConn did to Purdue last year in the national title game. Was Dan Hurley said we're not gonna double Zach Edey. We're gonna make everybody else beat us. And Zach Edey had like 25, and then the rest of the team had like 25.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
no,
think
no.
Florida was trying a similar gamble.
Well, no, and I mean, the coaching decisions when you put your game plan together, you're going to say, is Broom good enough to go? I mean, to get 40 against us, and you're probably going to say, probably not. I mean, maybe if he was Michael Jordan-esque in that game, maybe he was good enough, but he certainly didn't. And their defensive gamble paid off. But I thought it was a heck of a game, and and Florida played their way into the championship game. Now look at the other side of the bracket. Look at Houston and Duke, and I mean the one thing you can come away saying is that at no point in time can you ever count Houston out. I mean, Duke was up by, I don't know, 14, 13, 14 with maybe 8 minutes left in the game. And the Houston kids just keep coming. They come hard. And Kelvin Sampson just does a great job of coaching his guys to be relentless and to compete. And one of the things that I think Coach Sampson has always been noted for is his ability to teach rebounding, to teach guys going to the offensive glass. And I thought Houston did a good job. I think everybody had money on Duke. And Duke, I mean, Duke just didn't make the plays down the stretch.
Right. And
do you think it was more of Duke kind of mailing it in toward the end, or you think Houston did Duke lose or did Houston win?
No, I thought Houston won. I thought Houston won because of their defensive intensity. They don't, they're always going to make a ball handler feel uncomfortable. And I think that gives them the edge tonight when you're talking about playing against Walter Clayton Jr. He's such a ball dominant player, but they'll come up and they'll trap him and they'll say somebody else has got to beat us. Mm-hmm. And I like the way they do that. I like the way they play ball screens and they commit 2 players to the ball. And, and once the guard gets rid of it, then I think they just do a great job of scrambling back and getting in that scramble drill. And Pat, I wanted to the one word you used when you talked about transition defense is the word communicate. And as you see defenses run back in transition, you're going to see a player point to who he's got, and then he's going to point to the other side of the court, and that player is communicating, saying, "I got number 10, you get mine."
Yes.
And I think any teams that have that communication and can scramble and can close out to different players that aren't necessarily the guys that they're guarding, but when they get cross-matched in transition, they do a great job. And I think Houston does a great job of playing out of those cross matches.
I think so too. And here's one thing I want to bring up real quick. You can agree or disagree. I really think the Duke hype about Duke being such I'll call them a super team where they were untouchable. I think that was all created by the media. I think coaches knew that Houston had every chance in the world that was going to be a good ball game. And I think coaches are not surprised that Houston won that game. The media is surprised because that's how they got people to tune in. A lot of the casual viewers, they were selling Duke as the team, and Cooper Flagg, for example. The kid's just turned 18, and he's playing against a Houston team that's got a bunch of 23 and 24-year-olds. I think that made a big difference. And they mentioned Duke had never been in that position. How many close games did Duke have? How many close games did Houston have? Let's go back 1 week. They were tied with Purdue with 2 seconds left and came up with some magical out-of-bounds play that we talked about last week. Some play that you and I run, the screen-to-screener out of a box set, and it worked.
Yeah, and it wasn't
those are things
it
they
was not a
practice.
magical play. It was just a breakdown by Purdue's
Yeah.
defense,
I was being
and the play ended up
sarcastic.
working.
You're exactly right. So
I think a lot of it had. I think a lot of it maybe with a game that was so talent equated, because I really do think it was talent equated. Because like Duke has the blue chip recruits, but they're all freshmen, and Mason Gillis, and Houston obviously had the experience. But I think when you matched up like Tyrese Proctor from Duke and LJ Cryer at Houston, I think all things being equal, Tyrese Proctor's 6'6", and LJ Cryer's 6 feet
yeah,
maybe. And so, like, with all things being equal, like, yeah, maybe the height actually could make a difference, just because taller athletic guards seem to give everybody problems. It gave Purdue fits last year, I know, and like LJ Cryer and Braden Smith matched up really well on each other because they're the same height. And I mean, Braden's not the defender that LJ Cryer is, but I think all things being equal, maybe the height did matter. But I mean, Sophia was talking earlier in the week that like, oh, these people are going to blame Cooper Flagg. He's just turned 18. He's a freshman. Like, if anybody's blaming Cooper Flagg for losing that game, they're morons. Because Duke was a very good team without Cooper Flagg. They were an elite team with him, and they get nowhere near the Final Four without Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody saying that it's Cooper Flagg's fault.
No, but that foul, I think that foul that they called on him, which we can talk about in a minute. I remember I saw a couple people on Twitter being like, "Oh, that's Cooper's fault. He needs to be in a better position." Like he's trying to reach over on a free throw. That he's 6'10", trying to being boxed out by a dude that's 6'5". Like, yeah, you're gonna reach up.
Yeah, and I mean, who's that foul really on? That foul could have gone either way.
to
be honest with you,
Scott, I don't know if you found that, but I watched the replay of that.
I'll find it real fast.
Yeah, the Houston player, if you watch him, he's got both hands now. He's got a hold of Cooper Flagg's pants. There's no way Cooper Flagg's gonna be able to jump. He's got a hold of his britches.
Yeah, and again,
he's got him hooked.
When you're playing, I mean, elite athletes and just the pace of the game at which both of those games were played at, I gotta think it's really difficult to officiate that game.
That was a tough, yeah.
Because I mean, they're so athletic, they're so big, they're so strong. Which one do you call? Which one do you let go? And if you call all of them, are you going to call 50 fouls? And you're never going to work in a college game again if those guys did that. But here's the play we're talking about.
Yeah. Make that as big as you can so we can see it.
I got it full screen.
Okay.
How's that look? Is it pretty good?
Beautiful. That's why you're the producer of the year.
But if you run that back to the start, watch the guy on the inside of Cooper Flagg. Watch where his hands are.
Here, let's slow mo it.
His hands down around his waist. Look at his left arm. So he's got hold of his pants down there, and the other one too. If that ball came off the front of the rim, it hit him right in the nose.
Yeah, and as physical as the games were, that's a no call. Yeah. Because it could have gone either way.
Yeah, and
that's a no call.
That was a great block out because he got away with it.
Yeah, and Cooper Flagg had a great look at the end of the game. He just said, "I missed a shot." He had a great look at it.
Do you guys subscribe to the theory that refs should swallow the whistle in crunch time and really, air quote, let the players decide it? Or do you just say, hey, a foul's a foul? It doesn't matter if it happens with 18 minutes left in the first half or 8 seconds left in the second half of the national title game that's tied.
Yeah, I have never subscribed to the theory that at the end of a game that the coaches should not blow the whistle if it's an obvious foul. If there's a kid shooting the ball and he gets his arms taken out or his legs taken out and it's an obvious foul, you got to call it, man. I mean, a foul is a foul, but you got to be judicious when you look at it. I mean, was there? Did that play give Cooper Flagg an edge over the guy blocking him out? I mean, not really. I mean, it
was the fact that he's 5 inches taller than the dude.
Yeah. So I think that's a no call, but I don't think that's just a swallow your whistle no call. I just think it's a no call.
So what you're going to do is you go back to last week's Purdue game They're not.
Well, that's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say.
Braden Smith got barrel rolled, and what was it, a block, a charge, or a no call? They went with the no call, and or no, they called that a block, didn't they, Scott?
No, they didn't call anything.
It was a no call. Okay.
Yeah, but it should have been a call. I mean, he
got
hit. He got hit when he was attempting a shot.
He full extended.
Yeah, it is a call.
So
anyway, all right. So who do you got? So now this sets up tonight, man. Kelvin Sampson. When Kelvin Sampson was the IU coach, he had a bad rap, man. He had a bad team. He had bad characters. He had bad players, and not only bad basketball players, but kids. Once the stories start coming about a lot of the weed, a lot of the drug use, and things like that, and the fact that Calvin really didn't establish, any kind of a character type culture, but those were bad players, and Calvin took a bad rap for that. But now Calvin, he goes back to the NBA, works in the NBA as an assistant coach, gets back into it. And I mean, who says that Calvin Sampson can't coach? He can coach.
He can coach.
Yeah.
That's never been a question.
Mm-mm.
So who do you got tonight? I mean, in between bottles of tequila, who do you got tonight?
Well, here's the interesting thing with our brackets that we have. We've got a King family bracket that's got 20-some people. We've got, 12 or 13, Scott, in our Coach's Corner bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I'm leading both of them. So
I'm so glad I didn't play, because the cheating that is going on in those brackets.
And here's the sad thing. When you picked it, I didn't pick them. I just hit random.
Did you autofill it?
That's when I did the autofill. And then went to the Final Four and just kind of juggled the Final Four. So everything that happened the first 2 weeks, that was the autofills.
All right, so you haven't told me yet. Who you got tonight?
Well, it depends on which bracket. One bracket I've got Florida.
No. I do not give a shit about a bracket. Okay. I want you to tell me.
All right, I'm gonna take since Kelvin Sampson's your age and my age, he's gonna be the oldest coach to win. So I'm gonna take Houston.
I'm going to take Houston also, and I'm going to take Houston for one reason, because I think they defend the crap out of the basketball. Now I know, and you know this too, and that's why I think this is a great show tonight, because I think anybody listening tonight is getting some coaching 101, because I think the game of basketball today, it's all about defending the drive. And I think it just becomes so hard to defend the drive. And then Walter Clayton Jr. or Paige Beckers from UConn, they get to the basket because nobody wants to come off of the shooters in the corner. And I think they just do such a great job of using hesitation moves and, starting the drive, backing it off, getting the defender to stand up a little bit out of their stance, and then ripping it by the defender and getting to the basket. And because a lot of those straight line drives are at the top of the key almost, the help side on the other side, it's hard to get there. And so many people are not coming off shooters in the corner now.
Right.
And I think coaches are doing such a great job of designing offenses that either Paige Becker or Walter Clayton Jr., if they want to go to their left, if they're better going to their left, they're putting great shooters in the left corner. And you got to pick your poison. Are you coming off? Are you coming off and giving up a three? Is the backside help coming? A lot of times, because of that straight line drive, the backside can't get there. Now, if it's a drive from the wing, backside can get there. Mm-hmm. Straight line drive from the top, the backside can't get there.
Because they're running that high ball screen, which, I ran that high ball screen in Texas back in the 80s. And the easiest
That's why you ought to be in the damn Hall of Fame. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, but I could defend it too, because I ran it. So, you learn how to defend it. But you always told that backside guy to have a foot in the paint for help. You can't do that anymore. because people have gotten so good at shooting threes, and you always had the big man dropping to help on the roll and all that stuff. But you can't do that anymore because now the big man's popping, and you got a 5-man that can shoot a three.
Well, that's
and you know what you do. What happens if you put a shooter up there at the ball screen? You put your 2-man as the screener. Now you've got double trouble.
yeah, but you're going to switch all that stuff.
Well, exactly.
Anytime it's like players coming off the ball screen or setting the screen, you're switching off of that. And I don't even see Clayton needing ball screens. Paige Becker from UConn certainly didn't need ball screens.
No.
She was able to just rip it. And I think ball screens sometimes just get in the way, because I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do on a ball screen, and you're going to see Calvin Sampson's team do this tonight. If Florida uses ball screens, and they will, Thomas Howell will come over. Florida will double the ball screen.
You're going to double it, or what kind of
if they
switch
kick
are you
it
going
back,
to do?
if they kick it back to Howell and Howell's hitting, then there's another problem you have to talk about. But Howell didn't make those shots against Auburn. He was open. He had great looks, but he didn't make them. But I just think Houston is so good at doubling, making that guy coming off the ball screen take 2 retreat dribbles. And now when he takes a retreat dribble, now his defender can get back up in front. That's why I'm taking Houston, because I think defensively,
the last 10, what they say,
they're really good.
The last 10 minutes of the Duke game, didn't they hold Duke to like 1 basket in the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly.
Let me find out.
And Duke and Shire just runs a great. His offensive game plan, his offensive system is really, really good. But I think sometimes when the best hitters in baseball, when Juan Soto or Aaron Judge or those guys are up, and the pitcher just beats them. The pitcher just beats them. And there's a lot of times you see a hitter will tip his hat to the pitcher, or vice versa. If the hitter beats the pitcher might tip his hat to the hitter. But sometimes the other team, the offensive or the defensive team, just is good enough to beat you. I thought Duke offensively was good enough. But at the end of the day, they say this: good pitching beats good hitting, right?
Right.
They say that.
Sure.
Cooper Flag made a 3 with 3:03 left in the game to go up 64-55. The rest of Duke scored 3 more points.
Yeah.
And Houston scored 15.
And so my point is, in basketball, does good defense beat good offense? I think it does, unless you got some guy that can just throw in threes from deep.
Well,
that player.
I'm going to give you some comparisons. The game that we're talking about, Houston, flat D'd up Duke. Duke couldn't get the ball across half court. They're not last 2 minutes when they were scrambling. Their ball pressure
couldn't even get the ball in bounds.
Yeah, their ball pressure was the best pressure I've seen at the college level in a long time. And at the week before, there's John with us. John will tell. Well, I hope would agree with me. The ball pressure that I saw by Jeffersonville against Fishers was just phenomenal. And the game before that, Crispus Attucks put defense on St. Joe. I'm surprised St. Joe won that game, because the pressure that Attucks put on them a week ago when they were trying to catch up resembled the same thing Houston did with Duke. And St. Joe was lucky enough to make a couple of extra shots and won. But 2 nights ago, that defense that Houston put on Duke, they just smothered them, especially those last 2 minutes. They couldn't get it not only up across half court, they couldn't get it in bounds.
Hey, Johnny, be good. What's up, man?
Hey, guys, how you doing?
I'm good.
You good? And Coach has a nice tan being down there in Mexico, I see.
Yeah, that's the lighting.
That you know what that's called? That's called jaundice from drinking too much.
Yeah,
your eyes are a little yellow, man.
Hey,
John, here's what I told him. I said, Pat, you're in Mexico. Have a blast, and don't worry. You come home, I'll hook you up with my liver doctor. He'll tell you not to drink for a month, and everything's cool, man.
Just get some good water in you, wash it out.
Hey, I will
so
say,
John.
Q did throw a comment in. He said the pick guaranteed to be wrong is Houston. Too tough on D. Played more close games than Florida during the tournament. I also think, tell me if this is crazy, I almost think Houston has a shooting advantage because they played the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight games in a football stadium already.
They did play
So
in Indianapolis.
So they know kind of the depth perception, perhaps.
Yeah, and to me, all that's kind of overrated, man.
At the high school level,
I think
yes.
it is now.
At the high school level, yes. College level, not so much.
I mean, because when we played at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, when I was at Anderson, we probably had in that 18-year career, and this wasn't a state tournament, we probably played 10 to 12 games over there because we were Anderson, and they knew that our fans would fill the place, and they would give us a day to go in there and practice. If we played a Friday game in the Fieldhouse, then they'd say, hey, go over on Tuesday, and we'd shoot. Well, that's all we do is shoot, and I mean, I never bought into that theory. I think it. I mean, I think there is something to it, but I never bought into it. I think for Florida to win, Thomas Howell has to hit that pick and pop shot. I think obviously Clayton has got to. He's got to continue to be special. But if Thomas Howell doesn't hit that pick and pop shot, then I think it's going to be really tough. And I am so in love with Houston's defensive pressure and the way they can get cross matched up and still communicate and play. John, who do you got in this game tonight?
I got Houston just because of the defensive prowess. The fact that it brings up what Scott's great point was about playing close games in this tournament and playing in the atmospheres that they did. Basically 3 road games. You know, had to play Purdue and Indianapolis. You know, they're road warriors. I really like Houston in this game. I think it's on their side. And I think Kelvin Sampson's a great coach. No matter what happened at IU, I still think he's a great coach. I think the Cougars cut down the nets tonight.
I picked Florida before the tournament started, so I'm still staying with Florida.
Take Florida.
Yeah,
okay.
This comes from Ohio State.
No, good. No, I think.
Well, I was going to say.
I mean, in the national championship game, and they got Billy Donovan polling for him. And you know, I'm sure.
Well, hey, Houston's got Hakeem the Dream.
Yeah, Houston's got Olajuwon and Jim Nance. You can't lose with that combination.
Well, they wouldn't let Olajuwon on the floor after the game
I saw that.
night. I saw that.
Hey, Scott, why don't you take us to a break and hit our sponsorship a little bit, and then we'll come back and you know, let's have a great discussion about this Indiana All-Star team. I really want to talk about that and talk about a couple of things that have really bothered me about that. Scott, take us to break, and then we'll come back.
We will be right back, and I just want to say, to vindicate myself, everybody on this panel picked Notre Dame to beat Ohio State in the football title game, and I said, no, Ohio State's going to win. So we'll be right back.
Medicare plans can be confusing, but they don't have to be. I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I can help you compare your options because I'm appointed with many nationally recognized carriers. With my help, you can find the coverage that fits your needs and budget. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
Dealing with the loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, we are here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Homes, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all of your funeral service needs. Hahn Funeral Homes is located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. You can call them anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get all your answers from our local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. Hahn Funeral Homes, a family serving families. Are you sick and tired of relying on somebody else to get you around? Are you coming to Indiana from a place where you just never needed to learn how to drive? Well, if you're looking to hit the road with confidence, Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka has been helping drivers of all ages gain the skills they need for a lifetime of safe driving. With experienced, patient instructors like Mr. Coach Pat King and flexible scheduling, Frick's makes it easy for you to learn to drive easy and stress-free. Whether you're a first-time driver or need a refresher like Mr. Coach Ron Heklinski, Frisk has you covered. Plus, for just $65, they offer the state driving exam in-house. No need to go anywhere else. Visit fricksdrivered.com or call 574-256-0650 to get started today. If you're nearing retirement, or if you're like me and you're not nearing retirement, but you still want to get your money right for retirement, the Harbor Group Planned Wealth has you covered with the ability to answer questions like, what specific steps should I take before retiring? When should I draw Social Security? How do I manage investment risk? How much will health insurance cost if I retire? If I'm over 62, which I still am not, how much money can I earn part-time without affecting my Social Security and or my pension? And is it really possible to get a raise if I retire? If you want all those questions and more answered, call the Harbor Group at 855-5-HARBOR, HARBER, or you can contact VP Jessica Rhodes at 765-393-1074, or visit the website harborgroup.com. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. We're back with more Coach's Corner with a full house, 2 kings, Heck and John, and my child who is somewhere in my home, and you will never know that. But anyway, we're back with a discussion on the Indiana All-Stars and wherever else. So, gents, what we got?
What do you got?
There you go.
Oh, your Hall of Fame table setting.
HOF.
That was
It's my Hall of Fame place setting, or what else we were doing. Yeah, no, I got a couple of them, man, and they're on both sides. It's really cool.
So you knew who you were, huh?
I know who I am now. I questioned who I was before, but now I know who I am. So anyway, I coached the 2010 Indiana All-Star team. Had a really good group of guys. Had a couple of great assistant coaches, and this is when Charlie from Kokomo was the All-Star. When Charlie Hall from Kokomo was the All-Star game director, and I did have an input. I watched the workouts. I looked at some tapes. I did have an input as to who would be on the team based on what I thought we needed to do to be successful and get 2 W's against Kentucky. Because at that time, we had a streak like maybe 10 in a row. 10 wins in a row, and I certainly didn't want to be the coach that got a split. So when I put the roster together, and so when I saw that Chase Konechny did not make this team, I thought that that warranted an investigation, to be honest with you, because when I was picking that All-Star team, I think Chase Konechny would have been my first pick, because Chase Konechny can play, can defend. He obviously can rebound. He can score at all 3 levels. He might be as versatile as a player as there is in the state of Indiana. He can guard the 1, can guard the 2. He's played against the post. And I think when you get into an all-star game setting with foul trouble and maybe someone getting nicked up, someone getting hurt, you have to have players that can be versatile. And so not only did I think that was just a terrible deal of leaving him off the team, and forget about all of his statistics, forget about everything he's done to be on that team. I'm talking about just from myself as a coach, from wanting to win that game. He's the most versatile player I've seen this past year.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt, we've seen him for 4 years, so there's a little bias to it. But let me ask you this: the 2 good players, one from Mount Vernon, one from Greenfield, don't you kind of have to put him in the same similar category with them? He's a similar size, plays a similar position. The forward, the 2-man from Fishers. See, those guys are all about the same size. I think that was who they were competing. It's like how many 6'2", 6'3" guys do we need? I mean, I'm just asking because I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can play the devil's advocate on that, but I don't think, and Chase Knesny's not 6'2" or 3. He's about 6'5", probably 6'5", almost 6'6", right, John?
Yeah, he's 6'6". Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think too, Coach, you make a great point about the coaches being involved. I know at the girls team a couple of years ago, Christy Ulrich, who was, of course, the coach at Penn, was the all-star coach for the girls. And she said, hey, I want to see these kids. She stayed for the top 60 workout and all that. She watched a lot of tape, and she had some input on the team. I know they ended up getting a split, but she was able to get a pretty good mix of girls that played really well in that series. And I think coaches really need to be involved. And I know we media are involved, but it should not just be a media vote. We don't see all these kids from the South. The South media doesn't see all these kids from up in our area. I think it needs to be a combination of coaches, media, and other people that are involved in this all-star team. And it's an absolute travesty that Chase Knesny is not on this all-star team. I'm just blown away by that.
Well, and it is the All-Star game director is Mike Broughton from Southern Indiana, coached at Jeffersonville, Hall of Famer, and just a really, really good coach. But then the head coach of this All-Star team is Mark Urban from Chesterton, a Northern Indiana guy. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm a Northern Indiana guy and I see we have one Northern Indiana player on the All-Star team, the Murphy kid from East Chicago Central. Yeah. And he's a good player. He's not bad. He's 6'6", but and I see that, and I see that Northern Indiana has fought this for a long time, getting representation on that Indiana All-Star team. And I'm Mark Urban, and then I know, and maybe Mark Urban didn't know or doesn't know what he's going up against in this All-Star series. His two assistant coaches are Chris Hawkins from Attucks, and you got Chris Hawkins' guy, Briscoe on the ball club, and he's good enough. He's 6'9". He should be on that All-Star team. And then the other assistant coach is Jason Spear from Bloomington North. Again, a Southern Indiana guy. I think that once you take a look at the roster, and once you see that the last guy on the team is a kid named Mark Zachary, he's from Ben Davis. He didn't play. He's a football player. He's going to Notre Dame. He's 6'1". He's going to Notre Dame to play football, and he missed the whole season. He played in the sectional. Okay, he played in the sectional, averaged 7 points a game this year. Last year, he averaged 11 points a game. You're seriously going to take that spot and you're going to give it to a player, and he might be the toughest son of a gun out there. And maybe they said, "Oh man, we need a lockdown defender late in the game," but an all-star representation of Indiana is about what have you done for me lately? How good are you? How have you led your team? And Chase been to the state championship game last year, wins the state this year, 2,100 points. I still say, man, and anybody can be the devil's advocate. Please, somebody be the devil's advocate and look through this list. Chase Barnes from Fort Wayne. He's going to a D2 school, U of I, average 15 points a game. Might be a pretty good player. Michael Cooper from Jeffersonville. You guys saw him, 18.7 points a game. Probably pretty good, right?
He's deserving. Yeah, I'd give it to him. Yeah.
So Julius Gizzi from New Pal, averaged 25 points a game. D1 player going to Wright State. Justin Kirby from Fishers, averaged 13 points a game. Had a great team full of guards. Almost won 43 games in a row. Is going to go to Miami of Ohio. And then you got Brady, and then you're going to, get into a run of bigs. Brady Kohler at 6'9" from Cathedral, average 16 a game, going to Notre Dame. Kellen Pickett, 6'9" from Fort Wayne Blackhawk. Now, I don't get, and maybe that's just about they need another big. I don't know. The point guard from Lawrence North, Robinson, 6'2", 18 points a game, going to Butler. You guys saw Singleton, really good, right?
Singleton was the best player on the floor that night.
Yeah. Going to Northwestern.
Yeah.
Okay, going to Northwestern. It's probably not a bad move that Jeffersonville had two guys on the team, right?
Yeah, and I saw him play once, and the comment I made to somebody, I said he's the best player on the floor. I said if he's not Mr. Basketball, we've got a pretty good group of people, because he was Mr. Basketball on that Saturday night. He was that good. He reminded me of a Kaufman Wren from Purdue, like his little brother. He could play inside and out. Matter of fact, he's probably better versatility-wise than Kaufman Wren, because they gave him the ball at the point at the end of the quarter and said, go make a play at the end of each quarter when they had the ball at 6'8". So, I mean, he's the real deal. He's good. Hey, while you're looking at that list, because I don't have it in front of me, how many power conference players are on there? How many did you mention? How many ACC, Big Tens did you have on there?
Right off the bat, you got Singleton going to Northwestern. You have Braylon Mullins obviously going to UConn. He's representative of it. Robinson going to Butler. Singleton, I already said, going to Northwestern. Brady Kohler going to Notre Dame.
There's
Kirby,
there's four.
Kirby going to Mac school.
The rest of them are Mac schools.
And Julius Gizzy going to IWU, going to a NAIA school. Michael Cooper is not he hasn't declared yet. Chase Barnes going to University of Indianapolis. So I don't, and I've been in those meetings. I was in those meetings when you're trying to cut down, and believe me, that last pick or two is excruciating because some of those kids are good.
Right.
But to me, Chase Knesny should not have been in that last 2 or 3 pick situation because of the things that he's accomplished. He's a 3-level scorer. He's deep, he's mid-range, and he can get to the basket. So I have no idea. And I would like to talk to Mike Broughton. I'd like to talk to Mark Urban and say, give me your rationale for this, because
right.
I don't see it.
Because I know the thing, I just saw a real quick couple paragraphs on it on the news, and it said we had 18 people that we felt were legitimate. We had to cut it down to whatever it is, 12 or 13.
12.
Yeah. So, he said we had 18 that in a normal year, any of those 18 would have been all-stars. He said this year we're very deep. What was the comment that was made? So
yeah, and I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that.
But that's true every year. They can say that every year.
Yeah. Did you get any all-star votes your senior year, Pat?
Oh, heavens no.
Why you ended up guarding Larry Bird? What the hell?
Heavens no.
How many guys on your all-star team guarded? And I don't care you gave up 48. You were on the court guarding Larry Bird. How many guys on your all-star team guarded Larry Bird?
I scored 7 points a game in high school, for heaven's sakes. I was just happy to be there. You got to remember, 2 guys on my team. I'm the answer to a trivia question 50 years ago. Who were the other? Roy Taylor was Mr. Basketball. Who guarded him every day in practice? Me. I made Mr. Basketball. And Tony Marshall was number 3 in the voting for Mr. Basketball. He was our center. So I took it out of bounds, threw it in there, and I said, I'll be right down here when you come back. See, I was transition defense. I guarded when they were coming back. I had the rim.
Well, and you should have been the best offensive rebounder in the NCC, because you knew you weren't going to get the ball to shoot.
No, there were no
side and be a horse on the boards.
There was never a play set up for me. Anytime they shot, I just went to the backside to rebound, hoping I could step on somebody's foot so I could get a rebound.
What other big time South Bend player was left off the Indiana All-Star team?
60 years ago, right?
Who?
Michael Warren.
Michael Warren left off the 1963 Indiana All-Star team.
Yeah, and he goes to UCLA. How's that?
John, what do you got to say about that?
again, I think that was a travesty, just like this is with Konechny. And I think you got to look at that, not just, and heck, you brought up a great point about stats. You got to throw those out. I think you got to look at character and also how good of a teammate are they going to be. Look at what Chase Konechny's done off the court, what he's done in the classroom, and what he has done for the St. Joe community. I think character's got to be a part of this too. And I'm not saying these guys don't have character, but I think that needs to be put in the mix when we pick an all-star team, not just because you can fill it up, you play great defense or whatever. But what are those intangibles? You got to have some intangibles to be on an all-star team.
I think this is another example of anti-Catholic bigotry.
Oh no!
Oh God.
Cathedral's represented. Cathedral's represented on the team.
Yeah, but Cathedral's not affiliated with Arch Indy. They're independent.
Here, hey, there's a tree branch over here I'm gonna reach out on. I did see one trivia about tonight's or the Final Four. 3 of the Final 4 coaches are Jewish.
You know that. Huh.
I'm going to make a statement.
I just say, should I throw a fun?
That's kind of what I thought too. But they were trying to just, you know how they pick up trivia stuff on on everything. It's like Super Bowl weekend. They come up with all these, all 4 coaches' names have.
How long is the national anthem going to be? Yeah, I get it.
How long's the national anthem? All these coaches have 12 letters in their last name. Who cares?
Hey, so we all know Michael Warren played in Hill Street Blues, right?
Yes, absolutely.
With Andy Sipowicz, right? You remember Andy Sipowicz?
Ask Scott if he's ever watched Hill Street Blues.
He probably has not, because that's an old man show. But anyway, here's the deal. Who can give me okay, they took roll call and they talked about what they were going to do, what they had to do in this particular shift on the job. And then what did they say before they told everybody, let's go?
It was like something like, you be safe out there or something.
Let's be careful out there.
Nope.
I'm nowhere close.
That's what I thought.
It was always, let's get them before they get us.
Oh, okay.
I say it every day in the classroom, John.
Yeah, I hear you.
Before they get us.
That ought to be a teacher's motto nowadays.
I write it on the board.
On my wall.
Yeah. Let's get them before those son of a guns get us, man.
That's funny. Hey, yeah, I've got a topic for you.
Go ahead.
May not have an answer, but I've got a topic for you. Let's talk a little bit about just the tournament in general.
Should we take another break and then that way we have we can table this, and then we have our advertising responsibilities.
Yes. All right, well,
for the night.
Here's the topic.
Tease it.
Here's my topic real quick. Can I tell you the topic while they're doing
tease it? Yes.
All right, here's the tease. I'm looking at the mid-majors using the NIT for a combined tournament, separate tournament. Anyways, talking about doing something with the NIT to make it more appealing and involving the mid-major schools. Commercial.
So
commercial.
How good of a tease was that?
Go back and drink the rest of that tequila, Pat, and then we'll talk about this.
We'll talk about that here in a second. We'll be right back.
Finding private health insurance can be stressful. What if it didn't have to be? I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I prefer to personally meet with my clients so I can get a better understanding of your needs and budget. I can even review your current coverage. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
The loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes in Mishawaka, we're here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Homes, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all your funeral service needs. Hahn Funeral Homes is located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. You can call us anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get your answers from our local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. Hahn Funeral Homes, a family serving families. Hey, are you in the great state of Indiana and need your driver's license? Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka makes it easy with the Indiana State Driving Exam in-house for just $65. No formal driver's education is required. You might even get to drive with Pat King. Who wouldn't want that? I don't know. You just have to be 16 years and 270 days old, which is like 9 months, and have held an Indiana learner's permit for at least 180 days, which is like 6 months. Frick's provides the vehicle. You just have to bring yourself, a can-do attitude, and a ride to and from the office. The exam takes only about 20 minutes, and you can walk out with your official Indiana driver's license, which we're like the only state that calls it an operator's license for some reason. To schedule, you can call 574-256-0650 or visit fricksdrivered.com. If you're nearing retirement and need to get your money right, and you know what, heck, even if you're not approaching retirement and you still want to get your money right for retirement, call the Harbor Group Planned Wealth. They can help you retire with confidence, especially if you have questions like, what specific steps should I take before retiring? When should I draw Social Security? How do I manage investment risk? How much will health insurance cost if I retire? If I'm over 62, which I am not, but if you are, how much money can you earn part-time without it affecting Social Security and or pension? And is it really possible to get a raise if I retire? If you want all those questions asked and probably many more questions answered, you can call the Harbor Group at 765-393-1074, or you can visit them online at harborgroup.com. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA-SIPC. Back on Coach's Corner. Now, we're going to talk about why do we even need to play the NIT? Or what can we do to fix the NIT? To answer those questions and many more, guaranteed 100% correct, here's the panel.
The Black Sedan Band, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, good for us. You give me no chance.
Are you? So did you?
I have no chance.
Did you kill that bottle of tequila before we get into
I
this?
should. No, I was actually looking. Look at the comments. Go over on the side where it says comments. I just or private chat. I just
St. Monica?
Some guy named Brandon Chambers. I see that. Brandon Chambers, an assistant coach at McNeese State, who used to be an assistant with Wade. What was the LSU coach's name?
Will Wade.
Will Wade. All right. So anyway, he's the new coach at NC State. So I'm just wondering, I just saw that pop up. I don't know if that's a good hire or not.
Wait,
it sounds like he's been a long time.
Go back. You know what? You're
the way you're phrasing it, though, you're making it seem like this assistant is the coach at NC State. Will Wade's the new coach at NC State.
Well, he must be going. He's going there with him then, evidently.
Okay, yeah, because Will Wade took that job very, very famously. Like during the tournament, had 1 foot out the door.
That's
Yeah,
right.
kind of a controversial hire because of the way his tenure ended at LSU.
Mhm.
But can Will Wade coach? Hell yeah, he can.
Yeah,
Hey,
he can.
guess who I saw at Planet Fitness today? And Johnny, be good. You'll like this, and Pat will like this. I think his first name is Tim Barnbrook.
Oh, Doug's dad.
Tim Senior.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yes, Doug's dad.
Okay.
Tim Barnbrook.
Yeah.
We were talking about Doug possibly maybe getting back in and possibly sliding into maybe one of these openings, these South Bend openings that could happen. And here's the question. Will Chad Johnson be back at Adams? That's question number one.
Right.
Well, I mean, what do you think?
In South Bend, anything's possible.
I will tell you this. There are some insiders over in New Carlisle that want to talk to Doug about the New Prairie opening. They're gonna. I don't know if Doug would take that, but I know there's some people that would really like to at least give Doug an interview over there for the New Prairie job since Wigington has left. And from what I've heard, and Pat told me this earlier, he's going to go sit on the bench for Rob over at Marion. I know
that's kind of what I've heard.
That's all speculative.
New Prairie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
Is this source potentially the mayor of New Carlisle?
No, it is not.
Oh, okay.
No, because I don't believe anything the mayor of New Carlisle said.
So it gives it even more
hilarious.
credibility. So it's
No,
actually
it's actually somebody else that I know in the New Prairie system who is hoping to be on the committee, because they are going to form a committee of obviously some athletes, some teachers, and they want to get some community members in there.
No,
And they're hot and heavy about Doug Barnbrook. I will just say that.
Oh,
And I think they should, because I think what he did with the Clay job and the steps that he took from year to year, and he didn't try and do it all at once. He tried to build it in increments, and I think when he finally at the end, I thought Clay was a very, very solid fundamental basketball team. I thought he did a really good job of coaching them.
That was one of the reasons he was hired, because we knew he would change the culture and he would build this from the ground up and get to be competitive. And I think they were headed in that direction. And unfortunately, the people that ran the South Bend schools decided to close the building. So, but I think that's why New Prairie's looking at that, because New Prairie's kind of shambles. Their program is in shambles right now.
there is no
A lot
program.
of feeder program. They're not doing much at the elementary level. And Ben didn't really, I'm sorry, Ben just didn't build a culture there.
There is no program.
Yeah, well, I'm
That's
trying
what-
to be nice, okay?
Yeah, you were being
To keep
diplomatic.
follow up when you say that, there is no. I love it, because I think you're right, and I don't know. And I don't know if I'm Doug Barnbrook and I'm saying I want to go to New Prairie, because I just think they got a new football coach. They got a great baseball coach. Bobby Schellinger's kid is their baseball coach. They won the state championship there. I think maybe last year they won the state championship in
They did.
baseball.
They won baseball last
I
year.
just don't. I'm not really sure if there's room for a basketball program at New Prairie. I mean, I saw them. I did a game when they played in Marion, and obviously their best player is Wigington's kid, who was a sophomore. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they had a good run there with Mike Bauer. I think one of the kids was last name was Flagg. He was a really good kid. Played at Olivet Nazarene. Was killed in a car accident. And they had a nice group and a nice run. Won a sectional, but I didn't see anything in the JVs. So I don't know. But here's the other one. I mean, will Doug Barnbrook be the Milt Cooper? Has he been promised any kind of a gig? I don't know, and we don't know that. But I heard Ryan Varga today. The Reynolds family, I heard today, is headed to Arizona State.
Yes, they are. He is going to be, from what I have heard, and I actually talked to Ryan after the regional at Washington. We went to have some dinner, and he was there, and we were talking to him, and we asked him about Stephen Reynolds III, the Reynolds boy, and he said he's not going to be around. He's not going to go to La Lumiere, and he thought that they were going to Arizona. And Steve Reynolds, the coach, former coach at Washington, is a really good friend of Molly Miller's, who's now the new coach at Arizona State. So we're thinking that the whole family's going to move to Arizona, and she's going to be an assistant for Molly Miller at Arizona State.
Yeah, that's what I heard today. But we're in this time period now, because Washington's got this really good point guard, and the flavor of the day in South Bend basketball is Alex Daniels.
Right.
I mean, anybody that wants to transfer and move, and I heard this really good point guard. What's his name? DeCorey Parker, maybe, is going to transfer to South Bend Riley. But if I'm Barnbrook, I mean, that Washington job, I think. I mean, there's players. They've developed a culture there. Ryan Varga has done a really nice job of developing a culture there, and I gotta see it to believe that Ryan won't coach or not. Now I know there's some jobs opened up. I know there's some jobs in the area opened up, starting with Concord.
Concord's open.
Elkhart Central, whether it hasn't opened, it's rumored to be open. And so I think some of those jobs that I had heard today, that maybe Ryan Varga would want to maybe get involved in some of those. But at the end of the day, Ryan Varga's he's a basketball coach, right? That's
Oh,
what he
yeah.
does.
Well,
He
I
loves
mean,
doing it.
yeah,
He
and
loves coaching.
you mentioned Riley, Muncie Central job's open.
I did see that. I don't see any way, shape, or form that Alex is going to go back home to Muncie Central. I think Alex really, really likes it here. I think Muncie Central is kind of in a mess, right? And they have been in a mess for
Well, they're
probably the last
football coach too, and girls basketball.
Yeah.
All three, I think. All three.
Yeah. So I don't see Alex leaving, but I don't know if I see Ryan Varga leaving either, man. I mean, he's established that culture there.
Yeah, and I think with Ryan too, also being the dean of students, he is losing that position next year because the school corporation has announced they're laying off all of the dean of students. There are no more dean of students next year, and that's the position he held at Washington. So what is
really?
that? Yeah, so he's going to have to go back in the classroom.
Did every school have a dean of students?
Not everyone, but Ryan,
Yeah.
he was the one at Washington. I know Dawn Huff, who's also the AD. She was the dean of students at Adams. I don't know about who is at Riley, but they announced right before spring break that all of the dean of students would not be retained for next year.
Elon Musk is getting out of control.
So who will do the dean's jobs at those high schools then?
That's a good question.
The assistant principal.
Me.
The assistant
Probably
principal.
the assistant principals, I would imagine. And I know a lot of administrators have been given notice that they will not return next year. So
Wow. So with you being an administrator, has that come down to you too, or you still got your gig?
right now I still have my gig, but I ain't holding my breath. I'm feeling what's going to happen is probably I'm going to have to be full time in the classroom next year, which will be my last year. That decision has been made.
Breaking news.
Announced on Coach's Corner.
Breaking news.
Announced on Coach's Corner. Johnny Be Good has one more year.
I can spend more time with Coach's Corner.
Should you be getting a farewell tour?
Beautiful. Hey, I would be remiss, Pat, if you gave us the tease and then we jumped right out of it. We got to come back to your tease, man.
I just been
Come
waiting.
on. What do you got?
I've been waiting patiently.
Okay, what do you got?
Well, it's no secret the NIL is changing things at the college level. And I think just from one of the reasons I had you look at the names of the colleges that the Indiana All-Stars are going to, and the lack of IUs, the lack of Purdue's. You know, it used to be it was like 7 or 8 names. Now it's 4. And I think you saw a lot of those all-stars are going to mid-majors. And one of the things we've talked about the last couple of weeks is the mid-majors have been they're getting purged at the end of the season. Where are if you got a good player at Creighton, if you got a good player at Ball State, what's happening to them? They're getting picked up. Didn't we just say that IU just picked up a kid from Davidson? So my whole point is, let's look at the first round of the tournament. The first round of the tournament this year, one of the things that really alarmed me was how many blowouts there were in the game. And it wasn't just 1 versus 16 or 2 versus 15s. There were blowouts all through there. All those little schools that won their conference championships and were so happy to get in there, you know, they're losing by 20, 25 points first round. All right. So what I'm thinking is some of those schools are going to be thinking, do we really need to win this? Because I'd rather go to the NIT and play where I can, maybe get a couple wins in there. So my whole point is somehow we've got to get some of those smaller schools into the NIT. And how we do it, that would be obviously up to some committee. But you got to remember, the NIT used to be a big deal when the NCAA was 32 teams. So they expanded to 64. So that second 32 used to be NIT. Now they're getting beat up the first weekend of the tournament. So really this year, how many Cinderellas were there in the Sweet 16 compared to previous years?
Arkansas.
Yeah, not Arkansas. That's to me, that's not a Cinderella.
An SEC team coached by John Calipari.
Yeah, that's not to me. That's not that's not a Cinderella.
Cinderella.
That's not a David Center.
Every time I hear Cinderella, I think of Jerry Lewis when he used to play Cinderfella.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis, Cinderfella.
Yeah, again, that's right over a couple people's heads. But my whole point is I think it could be a deal that would make things more viable. For example, this crown tournament that they've dreamed up. Who won the crown tournament? Who won? Do you guys know?
Well, I
No.
anytime I hear of the crown tournament, I think of Crown and Seven. So I don't really care who won the crown tournament.
That tournament that Fox sponsored.
Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska. Nebraska won. Well, that was great for them. They got $300,000 put in their NIL kitty. There was a pay-for-play game, plain and simple. Butler was in it. They're 6-12 in the Big East. So you took the bottom 5 teams in the conferences and sent them to Vegas and tried to promote that as a tournament that we want to watch. So,
hey, if it gets the money in, who cares?
Well, and that's what it was. It was a money grab.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
Isn't that what everything is now?
And I think everything you're saying kind of makes a little sense. I think it's alcohol induced, to be honest with you, but I think it kind of makes a little sense. But one part you're leaving out is the NIT cannot pay the teams like the NCAA tournament pays the teams.
Yeah.
And not only does it pay the team, but it pays the rest of the teams in the conference. So if you get $500,000 for making the NCAA tournament, you get half of that money, which is $250,000, and then the rest of the teams in your conference get the rest of it divided up. So everybody's getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
And as you just said it, it's all about NIL, the money going into the NIL pot. So, but can the NIT pay the kind of money to the mid-major teams that maybe a team could get? Now, are the days over that Ball State is going to get into the NCAA tournament and the first round beat Oregon State with Gary Payton, the second round beat Louisville with Felton Spencer and LeBradford Smith, and the Sweet 16 play Vegas to a 2-point game? I think those kind of games now, with the way this is shaken out with elite players and money, I don't think you're going to see a lot of those kind of games anymore.
Yeah, I think you guys might be a little bit of prisoners of the moment, though, because just last year, like Oakland, some dude named Jack Golke came out of nowhere and single-handedly ended John Calipari's reign at Kentucky. So, I mean, like, it still can happen. I just think
it does. It can happen.
The massive consolidation of one, talent, and two, very experienced talent, because there's no more eligibility rules. I think that was more responsible for the tournament shaking out the way it did this year than anything, because like I had said last week, the average age of Auburn is like 22, which is ancient. Like Chad Baker-Mazara is 25 years old. Chad Baker-Mazara can rent a car without paying the penalty fee, and he is still in college.
Well, they mentioned that their lineup is older than the Oklahoma City Thunder, who happen to be one of the best teams.
Well, yeah, and why is that? I mean, years ago, and maybe only 5 years ago. I mean, we had the one and dones, a lot of one and dones. But now you don't have to be a one and done, because you got 3 hots in a cot, you got your college chicks, and you're making money. You might be making more money being on a college team than you would be being the 12th man on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, especially at the girls' level at college. What's the good girl from Notre Dame's name that is transferring?
Olivia Miles.
They're talking about her being the 2nd or 3rd pick in the draft, but yet she's going to stay another year in college because she knows she can make more money in year 5 of college than she'll make in year 1 as a rookie.
Look at
she'll make more in year 5 of college than she will ever make in the WNBA.
Yes, yeah. and look at Carson Beck. He's okay. He wasn't a great quarterback at Georgia.
Right.
He's making $4 million a year now where he transferred to. Caleb Williams made $900,000 as slotted in for the Chicago Bears last year.
Mm-hmm. He made more than that. Yeah, he made more than that at USC.
Yeah, and Carson Beck's making $4 million. So why would Carson Beck go to the NFL right now?
I don't know. Well, here, let me throw an idea at you, and you guys can let this one let this one sit. My idea with the NIT being somehow combined with the NCAA, money or no money involved, is these schools like a Harvard or a Yale or any of these small Ivy League schools that, you know, are so happy when they win their tournament, the UC Irvines, and they win, and they end up being a 16 seed and have to play in not only the play-in game, but then they get, you know, a date with Duke or Kansas or Florida first round and get drilled. What would happen if we would leave a blank in the second round or the third round of the NIT, and it would just say loser of game one of the NCAA? Let's say you've got 8 slots or 16 slots for those schools, and let them go play in the NIT. You know, some people may think that's okay. Some people may say, no, we're not interested. But what it would do, it would give more quality, some quality teams in that NIT. And, you know, or they start the NIT a week later and let them be part of the NIT from the start. I'm just throwing stuff out there because right now the NIT, I think, is dying quickly.
I mean, what do you think, John?
I kind of like that idea because I think that would be a nice little carrot that would be dangled there for some of these teams. Because I think you're right. I think some of these mid-majors don't, you know, you've got some mid-majors that are what, 23-8 or whatever, but they don't make the NCAA tournament because they're in the conference tournament. Yeah, the 2 slots or maybe 4 slots, whatever in the NIT, I think if you leave those open, I think that would attract some better teams. And throw the money out of it. You know, I know money is everything now in college athletics, but yeah, it gives opportunities because I think even like the NIT tournament is good for programs that are continuing to develop so they can get better and compete and maybe make the big dance the next year. I think that's pretty good idea.
Yeah, and what this is, I don't know, heck, you remember 10 years ago or something when they were talking about making adjustments to the high school tournament where we would have a combination tournament where we might go back to the old-fashioned one-class sectionals and where you'd have the old sectionals like we did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then if you won your sectional, you went ahead and played. If you didn't, then that week of the regional, they would start a class tournament for the teams that did not win a sectional. And they would do that. Yeah, it was complicated, but there were some people that had it all figured out. And I think that's kind of what I'm alluding to. Here's some sort of a hybrid tournament where the NCAA and the NIT are combined. Because right now,
ChatGPT could just figure it out.
The Crown tournament, the Crown took players away from the NIT.
Yeah.
Because I think if you were in the Big East, the Big 10, or the Big 12, and you were invited, you had to go to that Crown tournament because it was sponsored by Fox, who covered those conferences ball games during the season. So that's just something I wanted to present because I really think that the NIT and that Crown tournament are really just begging for audiences right now, and those audiences are nowhere around.
I think any illusion of prestige or lore that the NIT had is dead and gone. Mm-hmm. And I think whoever pays these schools the most money to get them to play more games, that's what they're going to do.
I don't think there's any question about that, especially when you talk about the Crown tournament, when they come out and say, hey, you go play in the NIT and you can go win the NIT. And like John said, you know, you can have a chance to take your team and get better and be ready to go for the following year. I mean, other teams have done that. But one of the problems with any of those is obviously money. Because the Crown tournaments, I mean, you're going to give us $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's going in the NIL, beautiful. But then the other problem with what you're talking about, Pat, is a lot of the coaches, they don't want to keep playing because they want to now concentrate and go into the portal and start putting their team together for the following season.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I mean, look at IU. Yeah. I mean, IU last year had a chance to go play in the NIT and said, no, we're not going to do it because we want to assemble and we want to look at tape. We want to bring portal guys in because the longer you're playing in these tournament in the tournament, the less time you have to break down the portal and get guys in from the portal.
That's the other thing the NCAA needs to figure out is they need to have the portal not open until like tomorrow at 7 a.m. Because like you're saying, the teams that are still playing are severely disadvantaged in trying to retain their own roster and then build for the roster next year because they're game planning.
Yeah. Well, and the NFL people talk about that too, the playoffs, because guys are already free agents and stuff like that. It was just I was throwing something at the wall and see if it'd stick. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, it's like the same reason that remember the 3-on-3 league offered Caitlin Clark some ungodly amount of money to go play for them instead of playing in the WNBA.
Sure.
I mean, like who's to say like the non-NCAA tournament events just end up like that, where it's just exhibitions for money, and you show up, and if you win this tournament, you get a gold medal and a check for how much in your school's collective fund. I mean, I just think that's the way the sport's going. Obviously, the teams that can make March Madness, sure, yeah, great. But then everybody else is like, fend for yourself. The season ends on April 7th at midnight, so have fun.
Hey, not to change the subject, but that was a good question, Pat. But not to change the subject, but let me ask you this question: Gino Auriemma in the running for one of the all-time great coaches, John? 12 national championships. What did John Wooden have? 10?
10. Wooden had 10.
John Wooden had 10. Bill Belichick had 6. Why wouldn't Gino be in the running for one of the all-time leading coaches? Right, John?
I thought he has been since like 2008.
I agree. I would totally agree with that.
I think you got to put him on the Mount Rushmore of coaches right now.
Incredible.
Yeah, 71 years old.
Doesn't matter.
The last 21 was in 2016. He's just had players after players, been in a little bit of a drought, a 9-year drought, but come back at age 71 and win his 12th, man. Everybody talks about Coach Summit from Tennessee. She didn't have numbers like that.
Nope.
Everybody talks about Bobby Knight. And Bobby Knight being, the guy that revolutionized basketball with motion offense, man-to-man defense, blah, blah, blah. What did Bobby Knight win, 3 or 4?
I know. Gino, like I said, he's got to be on that Mount Rushmore with Wooden and Belichick and you name a fourth.
Well, no. I mean, Vince. Everybody goes crazy if you're a freaking cheesehead. Everybody goes crazy. How many did Vince Lombardi win?
2.
I don't know, John. You're a Lion fan. How many did Lombardi win? 3 or 4?
3, I think.
Yeah, 3. 3, and Belichick wins 6.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And in the salary cap era, which is more impressive.
Here, I'll give you a 4th name to put there. How about Red Auerbach? So
I agree.
There's your 4. How's that?
Well, I mean, why wouldn't Phil Jackson be somewhere in that too? Phil Jackson's won 6 or 7.
Because Auerbach's got 12, doesn't he? 12 or 13 with the Celtics.
You guys are running out of room on Mount Rushmore. There's only 4 heads.
I still got 4.
But I think Gino's got to be up there, man.
I think it's a great topic.
I agree.
So I'm looking at her. I'm looking at it right now. Gino has been the coach at UConn for 40 years, which I think is crazy.
And what's the blonde-haired lady's name? She's been right next to him the whole time. He's had the same assistant coach right next to him. She's had to be a huge part of that success by keeping those girls in line and stuff like that. I mean, what a great accomplishment by the 2 of them.
So you think about it. They had a drought of 9 years, but other than that, they basically win 1 out of every 4 national titles because I'll read it to you off of Wikipedia. They won the title in 95, 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2009, 2010, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 25.
Yeah,
they
total of 12.
They had a 4-peat in there.
Yeah. 4 in a row.
Yeah.
I know.
And I think when you do that, and you stay the course and you don't hop from school to school, and obviously people have come at him probably, and I don't know, maybe UConn, is paying him just so good that no one could come at him.
2.4 mil.
He chose to stay at UConn, and like you said, 40 years, man.
Yeah.
He is 1,250 and 165 for a winning percentage of 883.
Wow.
Like men or women, like I get it. The talent disparities on the women's level are huge in some cases, but when they're talent equated, they're all pretty good. And to have an 883 winning percentage is unreal.
Right. I agree. Well, and you know, the girls, the draft is like next week for the WNBA, I believe, for the women.
I think Paige Beckers is going to the Dallas Wings. So
yeah, and as we talked about, stay in college, make $2 million, or go to the WNBA and make 400,000 maybe.
Yeah.
As maybe one of the top salaries.
And that's if you get some endorsements.
Yeah.
I think Paige could make some money down here.
She'll get the same attention in Dallas that Caitlin Clark's getting in Indianapolis. She's that good.
Yeah.
Hey, one more topic, and I'm gonna go back out to the pool. You know, I'm 2 hours.
Yeah, the Rangers and the Cubs are about to start.
Well, I was getting ready. Yeah,
it's the
fine.
Civil War of Coach's Corner.
This is Masters week.
No score, top of the second, by the way.
This is Masters week.
What's Javi Baez hitting this year? Johnny be good?
I can look that up for you if you're really interested.
Yeah, I am, because I know you're a Detroit Tiger guy too.
Who is in first place right now as well. So there you go.
Well, the Rangers are 8-2, so
yeah, no, I think the Rangers are good. I mean, it's Eovaldi against Justin Steele tonight. But I was just curious, as Javi Baez getting paid $25 million and might be the all-time biggest bust of a free agent signing that there might be, right?
I would think so, yes.
He's still getting paid, isn't he?
Hey, show me the money, man. So I'm on spring break, man, and guess what I got done today?
Shovel snow?
Bonanza at 2:00.
Oh,
Bonanza, man. Little Joe, Hoss, the boys.
Yeah, now you know. You got being retired, sitting there watching.
You got a number for him, John? Yet?
I'm looking. Hang on.
So, what was your topic, Pat? You said you had one more topic, man, before you go to the pool. So let me ask you this question: a lot of people in Mexico wear the European men's thongs on the beach.
You know what? No.
What do you got? You just got some gym shorts, or you got a thong?
Yeah, I got the gym shorts going. The wife's got me taken care of. You know, it's interesting. There are probably as many Canadians here as there are Americans, and with us being on the Pacific side, you know, most of the Americans are from west of the Mississippi. We're kind of a foreigner, even more so being east of the Mississippi. These people have no idea where Indiana is. They know where Arizona and Oregon and all those places are. British Columbia. We met some people from Ottawa. Met some people from British Columbia.
Forget it. I don't even want to know who you met. Ottawa.
I'm just saying.
The Ottawa Center. No, you probably met Alex Ovechkin's relatives, right?
You have to be careful because the second word out of everybody's mouth is
he plays for the Capitals.
Tariffs or Trump. That's all you hear. Tariffs and Trump. And I'm sitting there going, don't know anything.
Have you got it yet, Johnny?
He's batting 318 in this early season.
Seriously?
He's batting
318?
318 right now. Yep.
Dang. I know AJ Hinch is a great manager, but to take Javi Baez at 318, literally amazing.
Don't put too much weight into it. Corey Seager's hitting like 195 right now. So
yeah, no, I know.
Hey.
King Tuck's hitting 343 for the Cubbies. But here's the deal with King Tuck. Kyle Tucker is really good, by the way. And Vlad Guerrero just signed 14 years for $500 million. So King Tuck is in that area right there. And I say you got to sign him. But anyway, next week we're going to be back at our great linebacker lounge. We had a great crowd there the last time we were there 2 weeks ago. A week ago last Monday. Great crowd. Tonight would have been really cool because of people coming in to watch, probably the championship game, and there would have been some people there. But we will be back there next week. Pat, you be safe, man. And listen, there's a lot of crazy people hanging out in Mexico. Don't leave your drink sitting on a table. Don't give a chance to anybody to put, some kind of a thing in your drink, man. We want to see you back here. All right, man.
We went for a nice walk along the beach today, a couple miles, and it's amazing all the people out there wanting to sell you jewelry and hats and sunglasses and all kinds of fun stuff. They're not allowed on the property, but they're allowed on the public beach. And these people work their tails off for obviously not much money. It's really impressive to see the work habits of the people down here, but they're all involved with the tourists. They love the tourists.
Yeah, they love guys like you, man. No tan, white,
gringos,
pearly white,
Yeah.
and money, and money flying out of your pocket.
Yeah,
Because you know what I said to Pat John? You're in Texas one week, you're in Mexico another week. You can't hide money. You can't hide money, right?
Exactly.
Are you guys above water? Because all my buddies down there in Indianapolis and south toward the river, everything's flooded. I saw that Thunder over Louisville got canceled on the river, their Kentucky Derby stuff, because the river's out of the banks and it's flooded. New Albany and Jeff are all flooded. They don't want to put the boats out on the river. So, it must be pretty bad down there in southern part of the state along the river right now.
I actually saw some pictures today from Madison. They're underwater too. The lower part of Madison. Yeah, they're underwater today.
Scott, you saw that picture of Hanging Rock, didn't you, over Highway 7?
Yeah.
That was amazing. I've never seen. Don't remember that ever being like that.
Hey, before we do go, you had mentioned it. It is Masters Week. If you guys, if you two other than the people in the top left and the bottom right corner are going to watch, who's going to win?
I'm going to pick Scheffler.
Hopefully he can stay out of jail.
No, that's the next tournament.
I'm picking Rory McIlroy. I'm picking Rory.
That'd be a good choice.
John, who you got?
I'm taking Scotty Scheffler. I think he's on a roll right now. I guess stay out of jail. I think Scotty Scheffler is the best golfer right now, and I think he knows how to handle conditions and all the different pin placements at Augusta. So I'm going to pick Scotty to win the Masters.
It's such a diverse picking crowd, because I also think Rory is finally going to finish the career slam.
My dark horse is Patrick Cantlay. How's that?
Yeah, I'm going with Rory McIlroy. And hey guys, I got a bounce, man. I got a couple of dogs running around. Bugsy just walked in the room. Bugsy, come here, say hi to everybody. Bugsy just came in.
My dark horse in the Masters is Bennett Wise. So
there's Bugsy, man. There's Bugsy. Hey guys, you guys are the best. John, thanks for coming, jumping on board with us. And Scotty, obviously you do a great job for us, and we thank you, Pat. Continue to have a great time. Remember, whatever your wife wants to do, you listen to your wife and you do it. Okay?
Yes, dear. I'm practicing. Yes, dear.
But don't be walking too long down that coastline, because I'm sure there'll be some pirates down there.
Well, I keep looking out toward the water to see if there's any small boats coming at us.
All right, man.
You're in Somalia?
Yeah, no, exactly. Guys walking down with Uzis. Are you kidding me?
Well, there's military out on
Una
the beach.
cerveza, por favor.
There's
Yeah.
people here.
Give me one more brew.
I got plenty of protection.
All right, boys.
Adios.
That'll do
you
it.
guys. See ya.
That is another great episode of Coach's Corner. We will be back next week, same time, different place, except for me. I'm always here, back at the linebacker.
Good show.
Till next time. Later.